Hey, this is Overpass Insights. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about the advice I would give my 20-year-old self. So last week I got this comment from Himanshu Agrawal which says, "Hi, I really like your content." Thank you. So if you had a chance, what would your advice be to yourself in your late teenage, early 20s? This is a good question. I wasn't quite sure how to answer this, right? Because if I was to give somebody the advice that age now, it would probably be different from the advice I would have given myself in the past. Because Himanshu, that was a long time ago. Like, the world has changed so much since I was in my late teens, early 20s, right? I'm 47 years old, so when I was 20, it was 1992. We didn't have apps, we didn't have smartphones. In fact, we didn't even have mobile phones. I mean, mobile phones existed, but they were like really expensive. Only rich people had them. We didn't have the internet. I think we had Prodigy, but I didn't know anything about it, right? The world has changed a lot since then, right? So I try to think, like, what advice would I give myself that would be relevant today and back then? And I think the only advice I could think of to give would be about self-confidence. Because if there's one thing I suffered from a lot, I mean, throughout the whole course of my life, if there's one thing, if I have any regrets, it would be about the things I didn't do because I didn't feel that I was good enough, because my self-confidence was too low, because I thought there are better people who can do this than me and I probably won't be very good at this. In fact, if you asked me any questions in my early 20s, I would be able to tell you all the things that I was not very good at, and I would be able to tell you very few things that I was good at. And if there was something I was good at, I could always think about somebody who could do it better, and that would, so I would think, I'm okay at this, but that guy could do it much better than I can, right? And I think if I was to give myself any advice, I think it would be that, right? At 47 years old, you would think that I would have everything figured out, but I don't. In fact, I still feel like I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life, right? If I was to go back and talk to myself at the late teens, early 20s, I would say this: don't wait until you have everything figured out, because that's never going to happen. In fact, if you look around, when I was a kid, right, it seemed like everybody else was so much more confident and so much more capable of doing things, and I had all these self-doubts, and I was always thinking about, what if something could go wrong? What if this went wrong? Or that guy's much better than I am. I have no business doing this because that guy's way better than I am, right? But the reality is, I don't think anybody has everything figured out. Some people just are more confident. They seem to display it better. If you've ever worked in an office as a developer and you're constantly second guessing yourself, and you're working next to another developer who's always really confident, and then you find out that, dude, he doesn't know any more than you do, then you'll see that it's just all about the perception, right? I think about going through life and the steps I didn't take because I wasn't good enough, or I felt like I wasn't good enough. And then, that feeling of not being good enough never really goes away. I had a meeting with somebody last week, and I was talking about YouTube and Instagram, and I was saying, hey, you know what, you should really do more of this, do more Instagram to promote your business. And she said, and she was, she was around about my age, right? And she said, my big fear about that is there's all these other people who would be much better than I am, and what if they saw and said, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about, what does she know? I'm much better than her. And I said, you know what? I feel like I've had that same feeling. You think that on this YouTube channel, actually going and putting these videos out, you don't think I look at like Tech Lead or Joshua Flake or any of the other YouTubers out there who are talking about apps and software development and have way more subscribers than I do, and think, I could never be as good as them, so why not even try? No, you do it anyway, right? There's always going to be somebody better than you, right? So never let that stop you. A couple years ago, I read this book called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, it was actually a really good book. But one of the things she said in it, and I probably talked about this on the channel before, was, imagine if Metallica never picked up their guitars because they could never play music as good as Mozart. right? Imagine if Adam Sandler never went into acting because he could never be good as Robert De Niro. Imagine Robert De Niro never went into acting because he could never be good as Marlon Brando, right? There's always going to be somebody better than you, and rather than look at them as being a reason why you should never even get started in software development, or if you want to do YouTube videos, if you want to do podcasts, or you want to write a book, any of those kind of things, never let them stop you. Let them inspire you to get better, right? That would be my advice, right? Don't be self-conscious. Do what you want to do. Don't let anybody hold you back. You have just as much right to do what you want to do as they had when they wanted to do. And a lot of the times you might think that they're better than you, but they don't think that at all because they're looking at the person that they think is better than them, and etc., etc., etc. So that would be my advice to myself. Now, what I would like to ask the rest of you guys, especially those of you guys who are not in your late teens, early 20s, what would your advice be? Not only to yourself at that age, but to other people who might be that age now, because I wish somebody had told me this. Like, I wish somebody told me this when I was a kid. Like, dude, you might not feel like you know anything, but you know what? Nobody really does, right? So many people out there are winging it, and once you see past the veil, once you look past the curtain, you'll start to see that. And you know, we all have those feelings of insecurities, but don't ever let them stop you. And yeah, I'm disgusted. Sometimes I am disgusted with how slow I've gotten started in my life because of that. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. That's it for today. I'll talk to you guys again next time.